Hello, here we are for another one. It's raining again. I'll just set my time so I know how long I've got you for. Right, so another Pilates class. I'm going to do a mat start, but I'm going to do it a bit different today. So I'm going to bring the warm up into the exercises a little bit more, so it'll be a bit different. As with all of them, if it's not for you, you can always flip over and do one of the ones that we've done before. You might be getting your favourites now, which one you like more than the others. Let me know. So we're going to start on your hands and knees. Pad your knees if you need to. If that's just the thought being on your knees isn't for you, then you might want to do on the other ones. But if you're okay-ish on your knees, then towels maybe underneath your knees for a bit more cushioning, or a thicker mat if you want to, or just roll your mat up a few times. So you're going to start on your hands and knees, as I've said a few times. Hands directly underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And cat and cow to start with, just to release the back. Now, we're coming right from start, so I'm just assuming that you're all really cold. So we're going to start just small, just a little rock of the pelvis and the head, just starting to build up. You want to feel that your back's starting to loosen, and you can make the move bigger as it feels right for you. And as you arch the back, press the breastbone forward, lift the tailbone. As you curl in, tuck the pelvis under, tuck your chin in. So you're thinking about working all the way through the spine, from the tailbone right up to the top of the neck. Gradually moving through, pushing the floor away as you curl your back, pulling the floor towards you as you arch your back, just to increase the move a little bit. We're going to do one more, and then we're going to add a bit of knee hovering in if it's right for you. If it's not right for you just yet, just stay with the cat and cow. If you can, on this one, come back to your neutral, your table position. Maybe reset your hands and knees for balance. Tuck your toes if it's right for you. Push the floor over your hands and lift your knees about an inch and hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and down. It's a bit of a shock, isn't it, this early in the class? I don't know. Curl in, straighten and stretch. So pulling the floor towards you as you press your breastbone forward, sliding your shoulders down your back. Coming back to your table, tucking the toes. You don't have to do that. If you prefer your feet flat, that's fine. Push down through your hands and hover your knees. Engage those muscles down your spine to hold you. About 5 seconds. And back down. Relax the feet, curl in again. So we've just added a little bit of strength on with our spine mobility. Coming back to neutral, tucking the toes, pressing the floor away, hovering the knees. Not too high. You want to feel those muscles across your shoulders and down your spine, holding you. Relax the feet into your stretch. We're going to do one more. And release. Back to a bit of relaxing. So if your wrists are feeling a bit sore, just give them a bit of a stretch out. We're going to do those. We're going to give the wrists a bit more work in a minute. But to start with, we're just going to circle around. Draw in a circle again. You might start with your circle quite small. If your wrists and shoulders and hips are feeling a bit tight, and gradually making your circle bigger. Sitting back. Coming forward, round to the side, loosening up round the side of those hips. And when you've had enough one way, or you're starting to feel a bit dizzy, come round the other way. Loosening up. And then we're going to do forward and back to work the wrists and the feet. So what I want to do, I'll face the camera for a second. Rather than having your fingers facing forward, I want you to turn your hands out. They might not go very far, or you might bring them all the way back. So as far around as is right for you. So you're turning, I have had people try and turn inwards. You can't come inwards, you've got to go out. So towards your little finger, you're turning the hands round. As far around as is comfortable for you. Reset them underneath your shoulders. Same with the toes. Tuck your toes under as best you can. And you're rocking forward and back. Again, your wrists or your feet might be really tight. My wrists are alright, my feet are tight. You might be the other way around. So you're just loosening up those joints, sitting backwards and forwards. I think somebody forgot to put my toe joints in there. They don't move. Never mind. We've all got our trials, haven't we? Tight feet. It could have been worse, couldn't it? I could have been a man. Just rocking. And then release the wrists. And again, you might want to just come off your wrists for a second and just loosen them up, because it's good to stretch for those arms. Then we're going to do a bit of threading the needle. So for this one, you turn your hand over so you've got your fingernails sliding along the floor, and you reach through, bending the other arms you need to, reaching through and back up. So this is to stretch around the shoulder and down the sides of the body. So you're reaching as if you're trying to get something from under the bed. Try and line the arm up with the floor so you're not giving yourself a hug and sliding through. And try not to sit too far back in your hips, because you want a nice long spine to allow it to rotate. If you've sat back, it reduces the movement. Reach. And it's up to you how long you hold those stretches for. You might just want to reach through and think that's enough, I'm coming out of it. But as you loosen up, hopefully you find that you can stay there for a breath, just to allow your body to release into the stretch. But listen to it. Don't force it to do something it doesn't feel that it can do, or if your body starts to shake, just give it a bit longer on the reaching and coming back. Reaching through. Try to keep as best you can your hip and knee lined up. Try not to sit back too far, because you just reduce your movement if you do that. Reaching through. Good. One more. And then we're going to do a little bit of work for the arms now. I'm going to get you to raise your arm, and it can be quite challenging here on your hands and knees to raise your arm. So if you have got very tight shoulders or a little bit of roundness in that upper back, you might be happier up on your knees. So do that if you find that's easier for you, but otherwise, down on your hands and knees again, and you're going to slide your hand forward and try and line it up with your ear. Check your breastbone isn't trying to pull up towards your spine as you do it, so your breastbone stays neutral. It's going from side to side. Try and put a little bit of pressure through the supporting arm to stabilise the upper body. Keep your hips and knees about hip distance apart. And if it is just too much, then up on your knees is your alternative. Reaching through. Try and square the shoulders up. Hold that position if you can, so it becomes a little bit more strength to hold that position. Square up the shoulders. Lift it. If you find the hold is too much, then go just alternate from side to side like we were doing before. If you feel a little bit wobbly in your hips, you might need your knees a little bit further apart. You might need to zip your abdominals up a little bit more. A bit more stability. Last one. Lift. And down. Good. Relax the shoulders. Then we're going to do a bit of work for the ankles. So you're going to slide your foot back and just push through the ball of your foot. You'll feel a stretch hopefully in the calf. If it's too much, come back in, try again. Don't overstretch it. Push through. And you're going from side to side. Stretching through the calf and the toes a little bit more. Again, try not to sit your hips back. Try and keep your hip and knee position. So you're not leaning back with the whole of your weight, you're just pushing through your foot. Just have a quick glance down at the supporting leg. You want your knee and hip, again if I do it to the front to show you what I mean, you want your knee and hip lined up. Sometimes we kind of forget and drop out into that hip and put too much stretch in the side, so line it up. Use your arms, it might be you're just not using your arms enough. Use your arms. So we're getting some pelvic stability. Hopefully we're starting to loosen the feet. Now we're going to get the bum muscles warmed up. So all we're going to do is straighten the leg, pull your belly button tight to your spine. Think about keeping your tailbone pointing straight back. And lift the foot off the floor. You feel your bum muscles work. Back down and change sides. What I don't want you to do is, as the leg starts to lift, let the pelvis drop. I want you to drop into it. So pull the abdominals tight. So I want you to use the bum muscle to lift the leg. Doesn't matter if it doesn't lift very far. Squeeze that butt. Push away with your arms. So while we're getting the hips more flexible, we're getting the upper body stronger. And we've only been going 11 minutes. Dear, dear. Like she's on the clock here today. Squeeze and lift. If the lift is too much, just stay with your foot close to the floor. But we just want to release this, because this weather, we're more likely to be indoors. And when we're indoors, we sit in, and when we sit in, we get tight here. So I'm trying to get you engage the butt, stretch the hips. Good. Then have a quick rest. However your rest is, you might find high child pose is a rest, or coming up here, or just sitting on your side for a minute. Just have a rest, because we're going to come into our level 2 swimming. So we're going to bring the arm and leg in together. So get your table position, lengthen through your spine. I want you to imagine your head and your bum have fallen out, so they want to be as far away from each other as possible. They're not all hunched in together, they're stretching out. Press down a little bit harder through your right arm, push the floor away, and slide your right foot back. Rest on the ball of the foot, and just give yourself a minute to square up the pelvis. So your knee and hip alignment and across the pelvis is level. Then, as you just did, squeeze the butt and lift that foot off the floor. Don't let the belly release down. Pull up. If you can then, push down a little bit harder in your right arm for stability. Slide your left hand forward. If you feel like you're going to fall over, bring it back in. If you're okay, lift that arm to about level with your ear. Slide your shoulder back and down. Square up the shoulders. Push through the floor. Hold your balance. And back down, and back in. So shoulders back and down. Same on the other side, so press down through your left hand to allow you to slide your left leg back. Check your position on this right leg. Squeeze your butt, suck your belly in and lengthen the spine. Then you've got the stability to lift this left leg off the floor. Don't drop the pelvis forward. Push down a little bit harder through your left hand. See if you can slide your right hand forward. If you feel like you're going to fall over, bring it back. Otherwise, lift it, sliding the shoulder back and down as it lifts. Lengthen through your spine. I've got some wobbling going on in this arm, it's working hard. Back down, back in. We're going to do it again on the other side. So square up. Start off by pressing down in your right hand to allow you to move your right leg forward. If you don't, you will immediately drop to the left. Squeeze your butt, lengthen the spine and lift your right foot off the floor. Don't drop. Press a little bit more on that right hand, slide the left forward. Lift it, pulling the shoulder back, squared with the right. Push the floor away. Push your heel away. Back down, back in once more, square up, press through the left hand, slide the left leg back, square the hips, squeeze the butt and lift. Really lengthen through the thigh on this left leg. Push a little bit harder, right hand forward, lift it, pull the shoulder back, square the hips. Maybe lift the knee, the heel a little bit higher. If you can't quite feel your bum working. And down. Good job. Phewy. Little bit of loose in those hips now. So we're going to do child's pose. So we're going to start with the toes a little closer together and knees apart, but we're going to come into it gradually. So all I want to do is rock backwards and forwards. If you've got tight thighs, tight quads, sore knees, I don't want you to go at it too quickly, so you're gradually sitting back. If you know you could do this till Christmas and you are never going to hit your bum down to your feet, get a cushion. And so it's much better to sit on a cushion across your feet than kind of hover. So get a cushion, come back and join us. So gradually sitting back and coming forward again. We're trying to loosen the adductors, the inside of these hips here, and the butt muscles. Just sitting back. It's a nice bit of work for the shins as well. And you might find that you quite like the coming backwards and forwards. I quite like this, just easing into it and out of it, rather than holding a position. It suits me better. So if you're the same, you just stay like this. But if you want to, if you like to sit back, if it's quite easy for you to do that, then you sit, and then you can decide whether you want to have your arms a little bit lower and your chest a little bit lower. You might find that you can go all the way to the floor, but it's really important that you keep your hips down. There's no point having your head on the floor if your bum's in the air, because there's no flexion in the spine then. It's about bending the spine. So find the position that suits you. And it varies. Everybody, every day, it varies. Breathing. Just start to feel those hips get a little bit heavier. And then we're going to bring some side stretches in. So again, you can do it from up here if you prefer, or lower if it suits you. What I want to do, I'm going to do it higher to start with so you don't feel under pressure to do more than you can. What I want to do is take your nose over and line it up with your left knee. So your body's gone over to the side. Now I want you to push your right hip back slightly to square it up. And you're looking for a stretch in that right side of your body. Obviously you can come lower if that's easy enough for you to do. And then back to centre. Square the hips up and over to the side. So you line your nose up with your right knee. Arms are sort of either side of your head, and you square your left hip up. So you're looking for a stretch down the left side of your body. If you want to deepen the stretch, try and breathe into that long side. And you're just going from side to side, and you might find your child's pose naturally gets lower just because you're doing this move more often. But always, whenever you go over to the side, try and square the other hip up. This is kind of a variation on our supine twist where you lie on your back. Gradually, hopefully finding that the stretch is getting a little bit bigger. Don't force it though. And do one more. Holding for longer than me if you want to. I'm a little bit of a fidgeter. I get a bit bored if I'm in one position for too long, but you might find that you prefer to stay and stretch for a bit longer than me. Alright, and then up onto your knees. I might feel a little bit tight to start with, so again, a bit of moving around to loosen back up. And then we're going to get the back muscles working a little bit more. Let me just check my notes. Yes, so we're going to do a bit of swan dive. So down onto your front. I want you to wake your back muscles up here to get them working. So start with your arms bent, with your elbows about level with your shoulders, so you make kind of a W shape. Tense your leg muscles a little bit and pull your belly button away from the floor. Just tighten it a bit as if you're going to cough. Slide your shoulders down your back. Now again, the head and the bum are falling out, so we're lengthening the spine, getting the biggest gap we can between the head and the tailbone. And then we're using the muscles in the spine to lift us up. We're not going to come very far because we're not going to push down. We're just lifting and feeling the back muscles doing the work. Tense the legs to support the back. And back down here. So stretch out, tense your leg muscles, like you're trying to tighten your knees a bit. Squeeze your butt a little bit as well if you want to, and then use the muscles in your back to lift you. Just as if somebody's grabbed on the back of your shirt and pulling you up. Now you can stay with this version. With your arms here, it supports your neck. So if you've got any, supports your head rather, so if you've got any neck issues, arms in this position just gives you a little bit more support. Otherwise, arms down by your sides. Your t-shirt down. So you pull the shoulder blades back if you're doing this version. Lengthen the spine again. And again, imagine somebody's grabbed the back of your shirt and they're pulling you up. I want these back muscles working. And down. Another problem with sitting is we tend to sit forward, rounding the spine. So lengthen as you come up, tense the legs and the bum, slide your shoulders down your back. If you come up too far, all you'll do is push on your belly and your pelvis, and you quite often see people, the feet ping up, because all they're doing is pushing down on the centre of the body. Lift. One more. Pull the shoulders back, slide them down as you come up. So you're shortening the back of your body to pull you away from the floor. Okay. Put your hands about level with your shoulders and push yourself up, back onto your knees. And then we're going to do a bit of 3/4 plank. So we're going to use these back muscles, but we're going to do it from a kind of child's pose. So knees and feet about hip distance apart. And you can have a stretch to start with if you want. So you move your hips back. Then you come back up into your table position. Bring your hands a bit further forward. And come forward into your 3/4 plank. Now push the floor away and squeeze the butt. Use your back muscles to keep you up. No dropping into this position. I know who does it. I know you're going to do it, so don't do it. Push the floor away. Then push yourself up, back on into table position and sit back. And you're going to get more stretch in your shoulders now because your arms are further forward. So back up. As you start to bring your weight forward onto your hands, use the muscles in your spine, just like you did in swan dive. Squeeze your butt, tense the legs, slide your shoulders down your back. Hold it for a second. Hold it for about a breath if you can, to get that idea of breathing without releasing your abdominal muscles. So your rib cage is expanding for breath. Push back up onto your knees and sit back. You haven't got to get your bum to your heels now, because this is primarily an upper body stretch. So you're easing your breastbone away from your spine, squeezing your shoulder blades back and down, then up and forward. Remember, we're sort of incorporating our warm-up in our exercises now. So sliding the shoulders down, pushing the floor away with your arms, tensing your legs, up and back. Push the breastbone forward, away from the spine, towards the mat. Come up into your table and forward. Push the floor away. Now you can do a few more of that version if you want to, or you can come up into full plank. Remember, full plank is going to be more work because you haven't got the support from your legs. So we'll do that if you want to. Why wouldn't you? Sit back first, prepare yourself, come up, maybe bring the hands a bit further forward if need to be. 3/4 to start with, so shoulders down, back muscles engaged to hold you there, tuck your toes, straighten your right leg, push a little bit through the arms, straighten your left leg. Tuck the tailbone under and push the floor away with your arms. Don't let that pelvis sag. Hold it for a breath, maybe 2 breaths, go mad. Back to the knees, sit back, release out of it. Push the hips back as you creep the fingers forward. Come back up. 3/4 plank, stabilise, use these back muscles, don't drop those hips, squeeze the butt, tuck the toes, straighten one leg, straighten the leg. And that pelvis dropping as the other leg lifts, keep it up. If anything, I'd rather you lift your hips slightly higher than let them drop down. That doesn't mean you're going to come up into pike, but have them a little bit higher if you're feeling it in your back. Back down, sit back. One more if you can, come up and forward, push the floor away, tuck the toes, straighten one leg, keep the pelvis up as you straighten the other leg, breathe. And down, and sit back. Well done. And do some work up on your knees now, just to get the lower leg muscles involved and warm them up a bit more. We're going to start off by just working through this hip a little bit. Again, trying to stop that sitting back posture. So first thing I'm going to do is loosen the hip flexor and the hamstrings. So I want you to have one leg forward. Again, I'll do this forward on so you can see what I mean. You want your feet about pelvis or shoulder distance apart. If your feet are too close together, you're going to be wobbly. So get a nice line, square your hips up, and then try and have your knee and your ankle about level. So your shin is vertical to the floor, and then you're up straight. So spend a minute or two getting your posture again. Pad out this supporting knee if needs be. And then it's really uninteresting because there's not a lot to see. Usually in hip flexor stretch you get that dropping into it. There's no hip flexor stretch, it's lower back stretch. So tuck your tailbone under and squeeze your belly. And you might just need to shift forward just slightly, looking for a stretch down the front of the hip. That's all we're looking for. Lift your chest and breathe, and I want you to hold it for about 5 seconds. Really squeezing this butt and stretching down the front of the hip. When you've done your 5 seconds, you're going to relax your butt muscle and you're going to move your bum back towards your heel, straightening this front leg as much as is comfortable for you, keeping your back muscles holding you upright. And you're going to hold that for 5 seconds. It might not fully straighten, you might be up here, that's fine. You're just moving your hips back, looking for a stretch in the hamstrings. Try not to wobble like I just did. Holding that for 5 seconds. And we're going to go through that a few times. So you come up to your bent leg position, tucking the tailbone down, bringing the pelvis forward slightly so you've got that stretch in this back leg. Holding it for your 5 seconds. And then moving your hips back towards your back heel, straightening the front leg, bringing your nose slightly forward. Use your back muscles, don't drop. Quite often people kind of drop into this. Get your back straight. Looking for that stretch. I don't want you to feel it too much on the knee. I want you to feel it higher up than that. Pushing the hips back. Always put your hand down or hold onto the wall or the settee, whatever's closer, if you find a bit of losing your balance. Then do that once more. So you're going to tuck under, come back up to your bent leg, tuck your tailbone down, bring your pelvis forward just slightly. We're not dropping into it. Chest is lifted. Clenching the butt. This is an active stretch, so the bum muscles are doing the work to stretch the hip out. And then hips go back and front leg straightens as much as it needs to for you to feel that stretch on the back of the thigh. Keep your chest lifted again. Try not to round the spine. Push your breastbone away from your spine. And then we've got the other leg to do. It's probably 2 legs, isn't it? I know. So bring the other leg forward. Line your hips up first. Pad out your knee if you need to. It's distracting. If you try and do a stretch and your body's uncomfortable, it distracts you so you don't get your stretch. So shoulders back and down. Squeeze your bum muscle and find that stretch on the front thigh. If you need to just lean the pelvis forward slightly to find it, that's fine. Find that stretch for you. Chest lifted, back muscles active. About 5 seconds. And then start to move the hip back. Don't expect the leg to straighten because then you won't put too much pressure on it. We're just looking for that stretch down the back of the thigh. Lengthen through. That's it. About 5 seconds again. Soften the foot. Let the foot just lift as much as it wants to. Come back up to your knee fold, your bent leg position. Tuck under. Try and stretch with the front of this hip. Lift the chest. And then again, sitting back, moving your hip back, feeling that lengthen down the thigh. Come back up when you've done your 5 seconds, tuck under. So this is working hip flexors and hamstrings. And it will help you, you see quite often, especially when people, lorry drivers, you see it, they get out of the cab and they've got a forward lean. It's because this is all got very tight from sitting. So tuck the tailbone, let's stretch down the thigh. And then when you've counted slowly to 5, you sit back and you're just trying to move the hips back and slightly up to a stretch down the back of the leg. And have one more at it, because I've lost count of how many we've done. Best to be honest, isn't it? Tuck under. 5 seconds, and then ease back. Just find that stretch. Don't worry about whether it straightens or not. If you try and force a stretch, then you work down into the calf anyway, so you're looking for that from bum to back of the knee. Lovely. Okay, and then up onto your knees. Should turn around so you can read our notes. Spine twist. So up on your knees, shoulders back and down. Now hopefully, because we've just worked around this hip area, you're not sitting back when you're doing your spine twist. So squeeze the butt a little bit, £10 note. Try and line, get a vertical line through the thigh and fold your arms. And then twist. So this is only working, remember, the only part of your body that is moving are your shoulders. And they're moving because you're getting that rotation for the spine. So your hips aren't moving. If you feel a little bit wobbly, try and lift up out of your hips and use your shins for balance. So a little bit of pressure through the front of the legs. Just mind you don't give yourself cramp, but your shins are working there. Sliding your shoulders down your back, reaching your head for the ceiling. Keep squeezing that butt. It's going to want to sit back because that's the position it's used to being in if you're doing a lot of sitting. So keep lifting up. Good. And then we're just going to halve your stability by coming into that bent leg position that we were just in before. I never know quite what to call this. 1 foot forward position, so square the hips. So you're less stable now. And you're going to have to push down a little bit more through your front foot, so that's going to get your bum working. You're going to have to use your back lower leg, so that's going to get the shins working and the calves. Try and keep your pelvis square to the front. Zip up now. It's good for the pelvic floor as well. This, when you start to think about lifting out of the hips and using your butt, you start to use the pelvic floor muscles as well. Change legs. Other leg forward. If you don't like this forward position, if it causes problems around that pelvis, then stay on both knees if you want to. Otherwise, shoulders back, square up. Press down through your front foot a little bit to feel your bum muscles working. Lengthen through the back leg, up through the top of your head. Always imagine your head and your bum are falling out and they want to be as far away from each other as possible. Or they're just socially distancing. Whatever works for you. But don't let them get too close together. Keep them away from each other. This also gets you to use the abductors, the outer thigh muscles as well, so it's a good one for building up leg strength, while you're getting flexibility and strength in the upper body. And then have a little rest. I'm going to get you to do a little bit of leaning back. It's going to use these legs, and if your knees are just screaming now, you don't want to do this. You don't have to. You can sit down because that's where we come in next. So if you've had enough of being on your knees, it's only one more exercise. So if it's not for you, it doesn't matter. You can sit down and we'll be with you in a second. But if you can, if your mat's padded enough and your knees can take a little bit more, up nice and straight, one hand on your belly and one hand on your lower back. Now we're going to keep a neutral spine, so that curve in your back's going to stay the same. So think about sending your tailbone down towards the back of your knees. Keep your rib cage lifted and the belly is going to contract. So the front hand, you're going to feel those muscles tighten. And then you're going to lean back. Weight goes into your heels, keep your hips up and pull yourself back up. So really keep your spine locked neutral now. Squeezing your butt and pushing through your feet as you lean back. Front muscles are working, back is remaining neutral, so the curve in your back doesn't, the arch in your back doesn't change. And pull up. It's really instinctive, those front muscles will tighten. They'll pull in. Pull yourself up. Relaxing your neck. Couple more if you can, but if you've had enough, just sit down. Pressing through the feet, keep the hips up. Pull those abs tight. And back. Very good this one if you get a lot of lower back. It's like me, you're quite arched in the back and it tightens up quite a lot. Gets the front muscles pulling in to support it. Keep the hips lifted as you lean back. And then you can come down onto your hands and knees. Have a little bit of a rock around. Loosen back up. And then you're off your knees. Phew. Oh, my knees have gone flat. Give them a rub. Get them life back into them. Then we're going to do some seated. Now remember, seated, we have worked a bit on these hamstrings and hip flexors, but they still might be tight, and that will force you into a rounded spine position. I find it very difficult to bring the pelvis neutral. So sit on something, cushion, block, rolled up mat, and we've done that in the class before and we haven't got anything else. Just sit on that and it just lifts your hips high enough to allow a more neutral or even an anterior forward tilt through the lower back, which will make it feel a lot more comfortable than sitting with it tilted back. So find your sitting position today. Again, it varies. Sometimes you need a cushion, sometimes you don't. Who knows why? Right, bit of beetle and angel. Check your wingspan. Not going to catch any. I don't know why I did that. We aren't going to bring our arms up just yet, but just check for future reference. So a bit of beetle and angel. Legs are comfortably bent. And you're going to let your weight tip forward and you're lifting up and out of that lower spine, relaxing the neck. And then you're going to sit up and take your arms out, pulling your shoulders back, pressing your sternum, your breastbone forward. And you're going to do that again. So you're going to let your weight drop forward. And rather than dropping down, think about coming up and out of that lower spine. So we're trying to release the pressure in there. And then sit up, stack the spine again, and open out. Good. So if you think when you sit, all your weight is right in that bottom of the spine, and we don't always sit in the best position for it anyway. So we're trying to stretch it out, so we're trying to lift up and out of it. And now when you've done a couple of these, if you can, stay here and breathe into your back. Relaxing the neck, breathe into your back, and then think about stacking the spine from tailbone through to crown, open out. Use your back muscles again to allow you to bring your sternum forward. And repeat, so come up and over, breathe into your back. 1 or 2 breaths, how much you fancy, and then stack from tailbone all the way through to crown and open out. Lovely. Okay. Set your legs wherever you're comfy. Some people are happy with the legs straight. Some like to do a half cross or full cross, whatever works for you. Make yourself comfy because we're going to do a little bit of shoulder mobility now. So you're going to start with your suggestive shoulder. Just roll it round. Carry on film time. That's it. And then both directions, just loosening it up. If you prefer to kneel, if you prefer to lie down, no, it's fine, whatever position That allows you to mobilise that shoulder. And then if you can, make it a big circle. If you need to just stay with your arm bent and rotate from the elbow, that's okay. And then see if you can get a little bit of rotation. So as the arm comes up, turn the torso round slightly. So a little bit of twist. Soften the elbow, it doesn't need to be locked straight, but we're just trying to get the shoulder blade to move back and down, because it tends to come up and forward, which causes our spine to round. So we're pulling it back and down. Turn your head if that feels comfortable. Good. And the other side, I'm going to flip round, otherwise you're just watching me hand move, but you can stay where you are. So a bit of a suggestive shoulder first, just to mobilise across the shoulder. Change your leg position if you're getting a bit achy in your hips. Other way. That's Benny having a scratch, in case you wonder what the noise was. He's got an itch. Alright, then into your arm circle if you can. So starting off just moving the arm around, a bit of air guitar, moving the arm around, and then add the rotation on if you can. And you're trying to release the front of this shoulder. Hold on to the other leg if you want, it kind of gives you a bit of grounding. Hand around the other leg, just gives you a bit of stability, opening up. Remember your head and bum, they don't speak, they want to be as far away from each other as possible. Lengthen through the spine as you rotate it. If it feels too much, bent arm is fine. I'm going to tell all the gardeners this is, that they've worked their upper body. Cool. Alright, back this way, so that's in your notes again. Right, let me loosen the hips because they might be getting a bit tight sitting here because hip flexors tighten. So just bring your hands back wherever you're comfy, bend your knees. Hip replacements, you're going to keep your knees together as you rock, just to stabilise the hips, but otherwise, feet quite wide, knees quite wide, and you're rocking. And if I do it this way so you can see what my legs are doing. So you're getting that internal rotation through the legs. So hip replacements keep the knees together. The rest of you can just rotate in. Don't force the knee down. Just let it rotate so you're getting that movement through the hip. And again, as with all our other mobility work, when it feels more comfortable, you can stay there for a couple of breaths. Just releasing through the hips. It's gone very dark outside. Oh dear. Okay, then we're going to do some strength work for the thighs, so the front and side of these legs, we're going to work them. It's not an easy move, but it's good for you, so you suck it up. I've got a restless greyhound, I think I might have to move him first before he catches me camera. Come on mate, let's go outside a bit. There you go. You can only stand me for so long, it's like everybody else really. Right, down you get. So, if you are sitting higher than the mat, so if you've got a cushion or block underneath you, keep a bend in your knee. We don't want your leg to bend the other way. Hands behind you, or one hand under the non-moving leg if you want for balance. And you're going to lift your foot up a bit and down. So, keep your chest lifted. You can put your hands behind you for a bit of support if you want. Don't lean back though. We want to use these thigh muscles to lift the leg. Now, if this is feeling a bit much, bend one leg and just put your hand at the back of it and pull yourself towards it. And then you might find it a little bit easier to lift this leg. Because we're going to add on to this if we can. So now you're going to lift it. Keeping your knee and toes facing upwards, you're going to move it out to the side and down. So I'll do it again for the front. You lift it and move it out. Don't let it turn. If you let the leg turn, you're still using the front thigh muscles. If you can keep your knee and toe facing up, you're starting to use the inside and outside leg muscles, which is what we want. So lift, push and pull and down. Try not to sit back, it's very tempting. I did a bit of it then. Keep the chest lifted, keep the pelvis lifted. If you prefer, bend one leg, put your hand at the back of the leg to help brace yourself in this upright position, and then just work the one leg. You might not do many reps, but it doesn't matter. So you can try both, see which one suits you better. But I want you to use the quads, the front leg muscles to lift the leg, and the in and outside muscles to move it out and in. You're welcome. Lift, don't lean back, stabilise, reach up through the top of your head, set your sit bones underneath you, technique. Moving through the legs, you're going to have a favourite leg. You've got to make sure you work your non-favourite. It's like I'm watching you in it. All those little tricks you think you could get away with just because I'm not in the room with you. That's it. Feel free to talk to me through the camera and then send me the comments. Can't send you that one. Alright, when your legs are mad enough, give them a rub. That's tough, that is. Well done. Okay, so we're going to use these back muscles a little bit now because as I said, there's a tendency when we sit here to kind of forget about them. So we're going to do a bit of chest stretching. So have the legs bent or straight, whatever's right for you, and pull your shoulder blades back to allow you to press your sternum, your breastbone forward. And release. So we're retracting the shoulders, we're pulling the shoulders back and down and lifting the torso. I want you to feel your back muscles doing some work here. Pull back. We're going to do in a minute, we're going to do a V-sit. So they've got to work without the hands. So get them warmed up. So pull the shoulders back and down and lift the breastbone. One more. Lift the breastbone. Okay, now we're going to go into V-sit. V-sit is a difficult move because you've got to be upright and lift your feet off the floor. As with all the moves, I'll talk you through it, but if it's not for you, stay with what we've just done, because what I don't want is you to drop into this shape with a rounded spine, trying to bring your feet off the floor just because that's what Sharon says to do. It's all about building up strength in the spine. So to start with, sit up nice and straight, have your knees bent and just put your hands on the back of your legs, just weight at the crease of your knee. Lift your breastbone up, lift your right leg so your shin is parallel to the floor, and put it down here. So what we're looking for is as we lift the leg, we don't drop back through the spine. So it's like we're trying to bring the knee towards the chest, just bringing it up and putting it down. Keep the breastbone lifted. Now, you might want to stay here. Otherwise, lift the one leg. Do this one first. Lift the breastbone. Keep the knee coming towards the breastbone. And lean back just slightly. And bring the other leg up as well. So both legs, both shins parallel to the floor. Chest lifted. Breathing. One at a time, feet to the floor. So I'll do it wrong so that you know not to. Sometimes when we lift, we lean back too far. And then all the work is also too far. Or other times we kind of round the spine. When it's rounded, all the pressure is in the lower back. So keep lifted up. It's called V position. So you're trying to make a V shape. The chest is lifted, one leg up. Lean back just slightly more to allow you to shift your weight to bring the other leg up. Keep lifting through the torso. You've made a V shape and down. If you can, again, progress it if you can, you bring the leg up, you lean back slightly to shift your weight to lift the other leg, keep your breastbone lifted and take your hands off your legs. Breathe. And then hands back on the legs, feet down. So it's all about building the strength in the body. As the weight tilts, the body doesn't. So one leg, breastbone lifted, lean back slightly, other leg lifted. Squeeze the abdominals, use your leg muscles, one arm, other arm. Breathe through your rib cage. Control, keep that lifted. Good, in it? Hands on the legs, down and beetle. Phew. Good, that's worked your back, so breathe into your back now. And then we're going to do some lying down on your mat work. Finally, 51 minutes into the class and you get to lie on your back. God, I should speak to somebody if I was you. So lying down, block under your head now if you want to. Relax the shoulders. And just give yourself a minute to just readjust. If you're feeling a little bit tight, we'll do our twisting. So arms just away from the body, knees and feet together and twist. And back, just loosening up, twisting. If your hips are feeling a little bit tight, because that sitting can tighten hips, put a block or cushion between your knees just to give you a bit of support. And again, when this feels a little bit easier, hold that stretch a little bit longer. Try and line, square the hips up a little bit more if you can. Push through that top foot if you can. And over. Sink the opposite shoulder into the floor and turn your head in that direction if you want. If you should push the opposite foot away. No, push the foot in the opposite direction. Push over. One more. You stay down, I'm just checking your notes. Right, and then a stretch through these hips. So if you straighten your right leg along the floor, bend your left knee, and this might be enough. You might find that you're getting a stretch around these hips and you don't want any deeper stretch. No problem at all. Otherwise, bring this left foot off the floor, so you're in your knee fold position. Hands just wherever on that leg is supporting it, and draw it in until you feel a stretch in your, around the back of the leg, around the pelvis. And then circle your foot a few times. And then slide it down, same on the other leg. So straighten the left leg out, bend the right leg, put the foot down on the floor. If that feels like it's enough stretch, great. If it isn't, lift it to knee fold, reach around towards it and draw it in. And circle your foot. Relax the shoulders. I'm always wary about this using your arms because there's a tendency to pull the legs into a position that they wouldn't have gone in otherwise. So really, all you're doing, if you let go of the leg, it would pretty much stay there anyway. And back out again. So you're just going from leg to leg. Drawing it towards your chest. But have a quick test. If you let go, does it ping away from you? Then you brought it in too far. And again. Bend and lift, guide it in and circle your foot. Just have your notes close. I have to keep sitting up, see what the next bit is. Right, so it's just to stretch out from all that sitting and kneeling work. So now we've got our marching to do. So bend your knees, relax the shoulders. So this is the first time today that we've really had the floor there to support us for our strength work. So we're not going to take advantage of that. We're still going to stretch out so our head and tailbone are away from each other. We're still going to square the hips and the shoulders. And we're just going to basically stand on one leg. So one foot down, one foot up. And find your balance where your pelvis isn't rocking around. It's not tilting backwards or forwards. And down again. And then we're going to stand on the other leg. And our aim is to keep the pelvis as square as we can as we lift and hold. And the transition is really important because sometimes once we're in position we can stay there, we kind of lock in. but we don't do very well at getting there, and that's where you get your lower back problems. So square your weight across the pelvis, right on your sacrum, and try and stay there as you lift the foot, not just while the foot's up, as you lift it. So many people who get that sacroiliac issues where it's like a grinding. It's this that you've really got to work on, that it stays neutral even as you're going from leg to leg, not just while you're there. And you can stay with this. It's a good one to practice if you are having lower back issues. Or you can then come to your knee fold. So just like you've just done the march, but you lift higher. About 90 degrees. So knee about level with the crease in the hip, thereabouts. Bend the knee, so you're working the hamstrings. And hold that for you 5 seconds. Check the weight is distributed evenly along the floor. And you're going to feel these thigh muscles starting to work. Foot down, remember the transition. Don't rock about, stay as still as you can as you float the other leg up. And this is going to help when you're out and about. Remember, when you're walking about, you don't want your pelvis rocking about, because that's what puts the pressure on the sciatic nerve and the discs in that lower back. You want to keep it as level as possible. If you're not quite feeling comfortable in the leg, just maybe the knee needs to come in a little bit closer and the foot needs to lower. Sometimes the leg's too far out. You want the weight right over the bottom of the pelvis. Come to double knee fold if you can, or if you want to. So one leg up. You might need to bring the knee in a little bit closer to bring the weight a little bit higher up to protect the back. And then float the second leg up. Hold it for your 5 seconds. Breathing from your rib cage. And down one at a time. And have that rest. That should feel like, oh, I've done that. Rest, regroup, start again. So one leg up. Bring the knee in a little bit closer if you need to bring your weight closer in to support your back. Lengthen the spine, zip up and float the other leg up. Holding it for your 5 seconds. And then one at a time down. Now, what we're looking for in this one is that we don't get that bunched, knotted belly feeling. So when the second leg lifts, the shape of the belly should stay the same. If it's not, if it's pushing out, it's too much work. The abdominals cannot stay tight as you lift the other leg. So you need to stay in level 1. It might just be today. You could experiment by maybe you need your knee in a bit closer. It might be your lower back's a bit tight still. So you can try that. But if it bunches up, only 1 foot off the floor, it should stay pretty much the same. So if you want to, you can just rest your hands on your belly like you did when you were doing the lean back. And you should feel those abdominals contract, pull in, not push out. It's not something that's going to get better if you keep doing it. You're just going to keep working and pushing that pelvis forward. So until you're a bit stronger, stay with just 1 foot off the floor. If you're struggling and you're getting frustrated, it's that stretch in the spine that's going to help you, rather than pushing down into the mat. And do one more, because I've been talking to you, so make sure you've got your technique. Breathe. And then down. And have a stretch out. Really lengthen the body. Stretch it out. Again, I'm going to sit up because I can't remember the next one. I'm doing for time. A bit of hip lifting to finish, I think. So feet on the floor, heels directly underneath the knees hip distance apart. Relax the shoulders and lift your bum off the floor. Come up and down. Try not to let the pelvis tilt back, so clench the buttocks and think about lifting the front of your pelvis upwards. So just grab the front of your body and pulling you up. Press a little bit through your feet, be careful of cramp. Lengthen through the body. Pull the shoulders down your back and down. Have another go. Lift the bum off the floor and lift the pelvis up as you gently push down through your feet and pull your shoulders down your back. Check the knees haven't gone wide. Use the inner thigh muscles and the bum muscles to keep the knees lined up with the hips. And down. Okay, I lied. One more. Check your feet haven't drifted away or your head hasn't drifted away. Line yourself back up again. I seem to have run out of mat here. Have another go. So lift, slide your shoulders down your back, gently push through your feet to stabilise and keep the hips up. Check the knees aren't trying to drift apart. And back down. Good. If you're comfortable doing so, bring your knees one at a time in and let the weight sink through your lower body. Move the knees around. If you're not comfortable with your feet off the floor, keep your feet down and just let the hips rock around a little bit, just to release. The good thing about doing your exercise in this way is you get to finish with a bit of lower back stretching, which is nice, isn't it? So just moving around. Move the knees one at a time, in and out. Loosen through those hips, little kind of a running motion. And a bit of happy baby if it suits you. Have the knees a bit wider apart. Grab at the back of the knees. Draw the legs, relax the shoulders and let the legs go nice and heavy in towards your body. If you want a deeper stretch, lift the feet up a bit and hold lower down, maybe on the calves or the ankles, or pull the toes down and press onto your feet. Push your feet into your hand, press your hands into your feet. Move around a little bit if you want to, move the legs around, massage the spine. Bring the knees together and the feet together, put the feet down, and again have a good old stretch. Try and get some space in those vertebrae in that spine. Let the discs go nice and spongy. You'll find it a lot more comfortable moving around. Bend the knees. Hands underneath the small of the back or roll onto your side if you prefer, and bring yourself up to sitting. Roll yourself over onto one side, back onto the hands and knees. Get your bearings. Bring your hands in front of your knees. Push into your hands to push you back onto your feet. So you're in a squat. And then walk yourself up to standing. Rolling your shoulders back and down. When you're up there, use your back muscles to hold you up. Tilt your tailbone down, don't let it stick out. Squeeze the front abdominals to support you. Feet wide enough apart for balance, and wriggle your toes around. Just wriggle your toes around, feel the bones in your feet moving about. Relax your knees slightly and then just rock forward and back. Hold onto the wall if you want to. Just rocking backwards and forwards. It doesn't have to be a big lift, but I want you to engage the feet and the lower legs. Breastbone lifted. Head reaching up, his feet pressed down. So feel your calves working, feel your toes working. Spread the toes a little bit more. Come up onto the balls of your feet and see if you can stay there. Pulling the heels straight up. Might want to drift. Pull up, work your calf muscles, reach your head for the ceiling. Press down through the balls of your feet. Reach up through your head. Breathe. Reach up a little bit higher, really stretch those calves out. Keep reaching your head for the ceiling as you slowly lower your heels down. Don't drop. Stretch them out. Good. Relax the knees. Roll the shoulders back. Done. Well done. I hope you enjoy that. Let me know. And sorry about the weather, but there you go. At least you've got something to do if you're indoors. See you soon. Bye bye.